The Truth About Goblins. Chapter 21. The wind was cold. Each sweep was a bite through the air, the chill itself enough to drive anyone to shut their doors and windows against the night. But in the woods, far from any such comfort, a man braved the elements and continued his search. He pulled his cloak around his shoulders, fighting his own trembling body as he pushed through the wind and the thicket. It wasn't the cold that made him shiver, not the bite of the wind or the blanket of frost over the forest. It was fear, a strange kind of fear. He continued, numb to the cold, hoping he would not find what he was searching for. How long he had been outside, he didn't know. But by the time he arrived back at the old cabin, he was exhausted and restless as ever. He grabbed the handle and pushed past the door. Met with obscurity, he pulled down his hood and sighed. "It's fine, Fletcher. Just me." He closed the door behind him. "I didn't find anything." A light appeared at the far side of the room. "Are you sure?" She held the lantern before her. "You didn't see anything unusual, anything out of place?" Bellator shook his head, walking towards her. The cabin was practically empty. A wood stove, a bed, a table. Aside from an old armoire, there was nothing else. Or at least, it seemed that way. But as he took a seat beside her, Fletcher pried open a set of floorboards, reaching into a secret compartment underneath. "It shouldn't have come to this," she said, pulling out a packet from the small hole. "We should have been more careful." "Never mind what we should have done." He reached inside and searched for the first aid kit, groaning as pain shot through his shoulder. He found what he was looking for and turned back to her. "How's your leg?" She stared at the roll of bandages in his hand but shook her head. "You take them. Your shoulder might be broken." "And your leg is broken." He lifted the corner of her cloak, frowning as he looked over the makeshift brace of branches and sticks. "It's worse than before. It has to be, with all the walking." He thrust the bandages into her hand and reached back into the hole. "Does this kit carry splints?" "No," she sighed, leaning back against the wall. "Are there any loose planks around?" He got to his feet and scanned the room. The windows were all boarded up from the inside, some fallen pieces on the floor. He grabbed the boards and got to work. "On your back," he said. "Lie flat." She got to the floor, watching him with dark, narrow eyes. "You need to eat. I can keep watch afterwards while you get ready to go back." He saw her wince, but didn't hear so much as a groan. "We both need to eat, Fletcher. And rest. We can talk about the next step in the morning." Another sigh. "We can't wait until morning. I don't think I can make the trip back, not with my leg. You'll have to go back on your own." He said nothing in reply, continuing his work on her leg. It was a long while before he spoke again. "Do you remember my son? He's just about 5 years old now. His birthday is next month." He took back the bandages from her outstretched hand. "I made a promise to his mother a long time ago. Said I'd marry her before he was born." He knew she was staring but couldn't look her in the face. "I've broken a lot of promises. With her, with everyone. It doesn't matter who. I've broken more than I've kept. And this is what it's led to. It had to eventually. It's my fault. I should have..." He stopped and turned away. "I'm sorry." She stared at him, thinking. "This isn't your fault." "Isn't it?" He kept his eyes on his work. "What did you expect, as refugees? What did you expect to get from me?" She said nothing. "Not this. And I know you wouldn't have agreed if you knew what was coming." "Donovan and I made a choice," she said. We knew the risk. And I said there would be no risk. He set the boards next to her leg and fastened them with the bandages. I made a promise to protect you, both of you. You did what you could. I didn't do anything. He pulled at the bandages. I couldn't do anything. I let the arbiters keep that promise. I knew I couldn't do it on my own. It wasn't my promise to make, but I broke it anyway, just like the rest. A nervous laugh. I couldn't even keep the arbiter's oath. That oath was meaningless. She tried shifting her leg. You know that. It wasn't. He rolled up the bandages and dropped them back in the hole. Not to me. It was the one promise I thought I could keep. Jacob. If it's anyone's fault, it's mine. A stretch of silence as he lifted her to her feet. The walk across the room was a struggle. It was clear she wouldn't be making the journey back. But Bellator said nothing, and it was only after he managed to help her to the single bed that either of them spoke again. This isn't your fault, she repeated, resolute. You're playing into his hands, placing him on a pedestal. He's accountable, vulnerable. He offered no reply. Returning to the secret compartment, he searched for some dry food. She watched him. It's not too late to keep your promise to us. Listen to yourself. Look at yourself. He abandoned the search and turned back to her. How can you say that? If he finds you here, you're dead. Donovan's next if he tries to meet you. And he groaned. I'm an idiot. What made me think I could promise you safety? I couldn't even save myself. A long silence followed. The wind howled outside, jabbing its way through the boarded-up windows. Bellator shivered. Jacob, you... Stop saying it. Why? Why should I stop? She caught his gaze and refused to look away. You like being Bellator, don't you? Invincible, immortal, untouchable Bellator. But it's only a disguise, a name. It was only ever a name. The color rose to his face. You don't know what you... Forget Bellator, he's useless. He didn't make the promise. He wasn't the one we followed. And he wasn't the man who reached out to us. Fletcher. He looked away, turning to the wood stove in the corner. You place me on a pedestal. Don't think I started this for you or for Donovan. Not for family, not for the greater good or any other decent notion. I was selfish. I had my eye on something like fame or reputation. He pulled out some matches and opened the stove door. And I never would have done it if I knew what I was taking on. She watched him light the fire, weighing his words. You can't make me believe that. It doesn't matter. He shut the stove door. It's too late to do anything now. It's not. He sighed and got to his feet. It's not too late. He was silent for a long while, looking past the windows as if they were made of glass rather than rotting wood. But he couldn't ignore the weight of her gaze on the back of his head. He turned around. What do you want me to do? He exclaimed. I'm alone, Fletcher. I don't have the arbiters anymore. I can't get a message to Donovan on my own. Donovan will come if he doesn't hear from us. I'll wait here for him. But you, Fletcher, you have to go back. I can't. He wiped the sweat from his forehead. No way in hell. She only stared, waiting. I can't go back. Restless, he paced the floor. He has the market under his thumb by now. I'll never make it in. Use the tunnel off the main path. It's safe, unguarded. Warn whoever you can. No one will believe me. Your family will. Warn them. Get them out first. You know the market. You can hide in plain sight and gather what you need. What I need. You have to stop this, she sighed. If you sit by, it'll be Neonacha all over again. He was shaking his head. It's too late. I can't do it. I can warn whoever will listen, but as long as he's got the arbiters, there's no chance. Our best hope is in rebuilding. She said nothing. He refused to meet her gaze, the silence eating away at his nerves. He brushed past the bed and headed back to the stove. She grabbed his arm. Damn it, Jacob! Rebuilding? He tried to pull back, but she held firm. Rebuild my life. Rebuild Donovan's. What do you think we lost in Neonacha? I didn't mean. Rebuild our homes, Jacob. Rebuild our families. Her voice caught in her throat. If you can bring them back, if you can rebuild lives, then do it. Please. Their eyes met. Please. Stop. He pulled his hand away. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. He moaned, covering his face with his hands. When he pulled them away, his gaze drifted to Fletcher's leg, bound with bandages and planks, propped up on the footboard of the bed. He couldn't look her in the eye, and it was a long time before he could manage words. What do I have to do? She didn't hesitate. Return to the market, warn whoever will listen, but stay low. As long as he doesn't suspect us, we have an advantage. We know what he's planning. Find out when he'll do it. She leaned back, pulling her cloak around her shoulders. I'll wait here for Donovan. It's too risky to send him to the market right now. And when he does go, it won't be for long. If he makes it here, if he hasn't been caught, we'll decide on a final time and place. For the baby? Are you serious? He rubbed the back of his neck. I think we have more important. They're connected. We know they are. We have to try, if only to buy time. She paused. And you made him a promise. All right. He dragged his feet back to the secret compartment, pulling out some food for the journey. I'll relay the message. He stopped, staring at a pistol stashed at the bottom of the hole. With a glance towards the bed, he grabbed it and got to his feet. He held it out to her. Here. She was reluctant. You should take it. I don't think so. He forced a smile. I'm more likely to hurt myself with it, in all honesty. Another moment, and she relented. Thank you. I guess that's it. He grabbed the lantern from the floor. Will you be all right here? She nodded. There was nothing more to say. Heading for the door, he pulled his hood over his head and prepared for the long walk ahead. Doubt, uncertainty. His steps were heavy. He opened the door. You're not a coward. He stopped, waiting, but he didn't turn back. You never were. Her voice was quiet. Not to me. The wind rushed past him. He shivered. You're thinking of someone else. She had no answer to this, and he had nothing to add. Without so much as a backwards glance, he shut the door behind him and stepped into the night. Hey, hi, I'm your narrator, Miranda Eastwood, also the author of The Truth About Goblins. If you liked this chapter, remember to add, follow, or subscribe to this channel so you can hear the next one. And if you didn't like this chapter, oh well, I can't really do anything about that. In any case, I just thought I'd let you know about my Patreon. You can check it out if you'd like to throw some support my way. It would mean a lot to me. Not to mention there's loads of extra exclusive content that I only post on Patreon. While I'm at it, I'll mention that The Truth About Goblins is now available as a complete audiobook, and you can get it wherever you get your audiobooks. Thanks for listening.